Welcome to O's Across the Pond, the show covering all things Baltimore Orioles, but from a fresh European perspective. Join us for the highs, the lows, the heartbreaks, and everything in between. Whether you're a die-hard fan or just discovering Birdland, this is your home for passionate, across-the-pond Orioles talk. Let's dive in.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you like our new jazzy intro music. I'm Simon, and joining me today is Thomas, Andy and Grant.
Evening.
Evening.
Good evening.
So we've got a few things to cover in today's episode, and we've got that weird, strange feeling of coming off the back of 2 wins in a row, so it feels really odd. I don't know about you guys, but I don't really know what to do with the emotion. So we're going to review the Red Sox Series. We're going to talk about another sort of, a Britishism really. We're going to take some early thoughts on what we think of post-Hyde Orioles, although it's early days of course. We're going to focus on some of our pitchers, some more familiar names than others. And we're going to preview the St. Louis Cardinals series. And then we've got a few questions from listeners as well, which we're going to rattle through. So yeah, I'm going to start with something a little bit light-hearted. Seems to be well received by our listeners, where we're talking about European and in this case particularly British phrasing when it comes to sport, and it's pretty relevant for us. And it's called doing a likely lad, or doing the likely lads, and it feels a bit strange, probably if you're listening in from America. But the term comes from a 1970s British sitcom called The Likely Lads, and then I think the sequel was called something like What Became of the Likely Lads. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a particular episode which is famous in British sort of TV folklore, I suppose, where England football team are playing Bulgaria, and there's a character who meets the Likely Lads in a hairdresser's and bets them that they can't get through the day without learning the result. And then there's a farcical comedy where he's trying to basically get the result in front of them. So when you try and avoid the score, when you're not watching a game live or live on TV or listening on the radio, it's called doing a likely lad. And I just wonder, it's quite relevant to us, isn't it, Grant? Because of the way that we watch and listen to baseball over here.
Yeah, it's certainly a talking point through the day. So personally, I don't try that hard to avoid the score. If I wake up early enough, I put it on MLB TV. I've got it set to hide scores, so if I know I've got enough time when I wake up, I can put it on before I have to get up and start work or get the kids sorted, and basically just watch the game delayed coverage as live. Skip through the breaks. I probably watch 90% of all evening games this way. I do not stay up past midnight very often at all. And if I wake up and I don't have time, I'll watch a condensed game. I don't try and avoid the score throughout the day to sit and watch it at night. I might do if it's a playoff game, but even then, it is too much hassle. I would just want to know what had happened, to be honest, and talk about it.
Yeah. What about you, Andy?
So I tend not to try and do the same thing. So wake up in the morning. If it's a West Coast game, it's normally easier because you're just about getting to the end of the game. And often you wake up 5 o'clock and we're still in it. I still remember the 17 innings game where Chris Davis won, and I watched about to the 6th and then watched the 17th inning, which was quite good. But I do try and avoid the score, but I'll always watch it before I go into the office. Otherwise, something will always happen and I'll see the score somewhere on X or Instagram, or even just looking at our own internal sort of baseball chats that we have with a couple of other fans that we have around in the company I work for. But I don't try and avoid it, but if I can, I'll try and hold and watch a condensed game early in the morning.
And Thomas, is it sort of second nature for you to try and avoid scores at all costs, being an Everton fan? Or?
That's very true, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, when it comes to watching the O's, I'm probably probably somewhere around about 90%, 92% of watch rate of watching the games live this season. I mean, regardless of time. Being with the situation obviously I've been in recently health-wise, I've had a bit of time off work and that, so it's not like I've got to be getting up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning to go into work. Obviously better go back to work. That will change. In regards to avoiding scores, I'm not really that bothered, because if I look at a score and we've won, I can go back and watch the game happy. If I look at the score and we've got beat, then I don't need to. I mean, you would have seen on. Why put yourself through more pain? Like put your hand in the fire, burning yourself, and go, oh, I'll do that again. It doesn't make sense, does it? But like the other night, we'll get on to the Red Sox series in a minute, but I can't. Was it the first game, or it might have been the first? I think it was the first game. 2-1 up in the sixth. I nip out, come back, and I'm like, I'd seen on Twitter what had gone on. I'm not even watching the rest of this, and the rest is history with that. So, yeah, I don't mind seeing the score. I know Matthew and the admins at the WhatsApp group have been good, and they've created a late night game chat. So anybody who joins our community, we always send them that link, and they can join that one. And we have a curfew in the chat, so any games that start after 11 o'clock, we don't discuss in the main chat, because I don't think many of us are that bothered if you find out the score, but there's a few crybabies in the group that don't like it.
Which is understandable, and
it is. Yeah,
I have to keep the score away from my other half as well, because she follows the O's just as much as I do, and she may get up a little later than me, but I won't be telling her the score, because she'll watch the condensed game whilst getting ready, and you know what it's like, people getting ready.
One score I did keep track of over the weekend was a game yesterday, and you might notice that Andy has a big smile on his face, even though all the winds changed. But, you know, Andy had a great day at the National Stadium yesterday, so I made up for you, Andy. I did keep an eye on that score. Yeah,
it was a rubbish game, but who cares when you win it with a very low baseball score, 1-0, but 1-0 in the playoff final at Wembley is always good. And we can look forward to some better teams coming to Charlton and the Valley this year, rather than the Burton Albions of the world that no one would have heard of outside of the UK.
Well, the original Athletics, are you? Or one of them, Andy? Charlton?
One of them, formed in 1905. Yes, indeed. So, quite a few years ago.
You're not moving to Vegas?
And I wasn't there, before Thomas tells me.
So you touched on the Red Sox series there, Thomas. It's been a strange one, hasn't it? It started, like you said, that first game was bizarre, and I remember thinking we're defining new ways of capitulating. But things are maybe looking a little bit up, dare I say?
Yeah, game one. We'll discuss it because that's what we do. Do I really want to? I mean, it's just you go into that Red Sox series, you're thinking, we might be trending again now, kind of in the right direction. Cough, the O's are not back. For those who consistently ask that question, Grant, I'm looking directly at you. Some of the decisions in the games, I didn't get not walking Rafael Devers. I'm thinking if you walk him, his run was irrelevant, but you're putting him at the plate and then you go and see what he went and did.
Why do you think that was the case? Is that a pitcher ego thing? I never understand situations.
I think the call's got to come down from Manzolino. I think Manzolino said he'd back his guy there in that situation, but I think maybe again, I'll come on to it later on. Sometimes Manzolino, I know he's only been in the job 5 minutes, he does come across as a minor league manager and a third base coach sometimes, other than and I know he's got to grow into the role and he's learning, he's been thrust into it. But yeah, that decision has to come from Manzolino and the pitching coaches. Again, we'll talk about the pitching later. There's obviously issues there. I just didn't get it. Game on the line. Why don't you just walk him? Yeah, it baffled me.
It would have set up the double play potential, and that's the thing that gets to me. For us looking at it, you go, it's a simple decision. You put him on first base. He's been hitting for everything, so put him on first base and take your chances, because you get a ground ball. We've got a very good infield. Henderson, Holiday, and whoever's at first base, they're all very capable. You get your double play, on you go, onto the 11th. But no, they just... it was bizarre.
And I think... Go on, Grant, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think it's surprising how little you do see people getting walked in those situations. You know, we've talked about it with Judge. It's unbelievable how many chances he gets in the form he's in. Devers started the season very slowly, and he's now batting over 300, so he's obviously picked up massively. But he's still going to be batting less than 500. So you're still going to get him out more than half the time. That's the only kind of logic I can see there is you should still back yourself to get him out more than half the time. You've got to get the next guy out obviously as well. Yeah. But yeah, he's a danger guy. You take his bat out of his hand, you put him on base. Yeah, I get that, but the stadium gets a bit quieter as well because folk are thinking, "Oh, that's terrible." You know, Devers isn't getting a chance.
I think he's one of the hottest batters this month. Obviously, you've already mentioned him, Judge, O'Hearn, who's been hot for us. Devers has been one of the hottest batters in May. So take that away. As Andy says, you've got Henderson and Holiday. You know, to coin Ben McDonald, your two haters of your double play there. Like that's. You put yourself in a better position, I think, to win the game walking him than you are having him at the plate, and then you go and see what he goes and does. It was a call that I sat there. It left me scratching my head. Like
I don't mind the call. You don't want to walk guys early in the game, but when it is that stage, I don't have an issue with walking him. It seemed to be that the commentators thought that was going to happen. It didn't, and he got the knock.
Yeah, and then obviously Trevor Rogers' performance, Game 3 was just was it Game 3? Trevor Rogers, we won that 1-2-1.
Game 2 of the double header.
Yeah. I thought he was outstanding, superb. Now, obviously, this is a guy that we've discussed about a few times in passion on the pod when we've talked about the perceived or the actual failures of Mike Elias, and obviously he was a guy that we acquired in a trade, and looking at him coming up is Grant, your clue, you would have probably seen the stats that have him down at AAA. He hasn't exactly set the world alight.
Well, let's just jump to that now then if you want, because I don't think anybody's expected that from him on Saturday.
Yep.
He'd come up from AAA. I don't mind doing the spot start, just so you're not using two starters in one day. You're giving somebody a chance. There's no real pressure on them because they're not going to stay on the roster the next day anyway. But his AAA numbers, Trevor Rogers, in 5 AAA starts was a 7.71 ERA, albeit he's coming off an injury. But there was only one start there that you would have said was passable. Everything else was dreadful. He's now put his name into the conversation. If there is an opportunity, he's going to be the next man up now. I would say at this stage.
I think he definitely deserves a second game. This week. I mean, look, 96 mile an hour fastball from a left-hander is absolutely nasty, and some of his location of his pitch outstanding with the pressure he had coming in as well. And I liked some of his comments after the game as well. Like, he knows he can help this team. He's obviously been struggling. He's trying to work on things. So I'd be interested to see what he can do if he gets a second game this week.
There was certainly some quotes that he's been training lower body to try and add velo. That seems to have worked. I mean, he was averaging 93.3 with a fastball, which compares with 91.9 last year. He threw it a lot more. He threw it almost half the time compared with throwing the fastball about 31% last year. So it's obviously a deliberate strategy. Maybe this is the Mike Elias plan, or it's just what they've decided to work on with him. Also, remember that velocity was in a very cold, damp ballpark. So, get back in a sunny Sunday afternoon. It might be 96, 97. Left-hander. Yep. I think we're going to see him again. I don't think we're about to DFA anyone in the rotation to bring him up, but certainly if Morton was to struggle, we're going to watch him after this record, or somebody was to have injury. He's going to be up. He's going to be the next guy, especially with this whole Mike Elias thing, where we did give up Stowers and Norby for him, so there was a big price there. We will want, or certainly the front office will want, to get some value from him, and he's still under contract or control through next season, so we probably will see more of him sooner rather than later.
You touched on it a little bit, just to round off that the Red Sox series. We saw a little bit, even though we lost, we saw psychologically and body language and a little bit of fight, didn't we, Grant, as well? And I think that sort of feeds in.
Yeah.
Is that a sign, maybe an early sign on this post-O's? Post-Hyde O's?
It's not. I mean, it's not a sign. We had no comeback wins at all previously this season. We've now had a few, or certainly winning close games, which we weren't doing, and getting late runs. I think there was a lot of belief from that win. The Brewers, the game 3, the Brewers win, the extra innings. I think that did. Hopefully that did flip a switch. I mean, certainly. I mean, even the game that we lost heavily, we were right in the game until the bullpen just, decided to throw batting practice for 3 guys in a row. So we've been in every game up until the 5th, 6th inning, and then we've finished them off. The game 3 and game 4 is not to be sniffed at. We're playing. We've got 3. We're playing 600 baseball the last 5 games. Obviously, a very small sample size. That's the kind of thing we would need to do for an extended period to have any success from this season. So you've got to give them credit and say, is that whether it's just the players getting a chip on their shoulder saying we don't want to be this losing team. We are getting some decent pitch performances, so there is that platform to build into. I think it is almost impossible, and we'll talk about Charlie Morton, who we're going to see if he comes out and we're 3-0 down before we've had a chance to get into the game, then it kills the momentum really. So it's got to be consistent. We do not have any credit in the bank to have a bad spell again.
The concern with Charlie Morton today is he's got 35 earned runs across 41 innings pitched.
Yeah, I mean, he has looked better, so he's starting for a reason today, because he's given them that decision to make, and let's hope. He's an experienced guy. We've talked about him before. We don't expect great things, but if he did 5 innings, 2 runs, I think we'd all take that and give ourselves a chance in the game.
Yeah. And Andy, you starting to see a bit more aggression from these post-Hyde O's?
Yeah, there's certainly some differences. It's a different makeup. There's a lot more aggression on the base paths. We seem to be trying to steal bases. We've been caught a few times, but I don't mind that, to be honest, because it presses the buttons of the other team. And you only have to look at the game 4 against the Red Sox, where a bit of aggression and the circus started when O'Hearn ended up running home after 2 real muck-ups. So a bit of aggression, really, I can see it. If you've got Mateo pinch running for anyone, he's going to be a worry. But everyone's doing it. Henderson, Holiday, even O'Hearn got a stolen base yesterday. So the only thing I think that's being held up is the fact that our IL list is getting even longer, and potentially, we don't know about Rushman today, but he may be going on to the concussion IL. I mean, even Melanie Newman nearly went onto the IL when she was in the dugout and got hit by a foul ball. So it just keeps growing, and there's no limit on how many people you can have on there. So we're down to bare bones, but there is something. But we picked up on the decision making, and that decision in game 2 for him not to be walked, it still grates with me quite a lot, because ultimately we lost the game because of that. Now, I'm not saying we might have not have lost the game anyway, but it's just those little things that, I mean, he's got to learn, Tony Mansolino's got to learn how to manage. But there's something there. We're certainly seeing something glimmering in the distance.
Oh, yeah, and on Mansolino, Thomas, what have you thought about him so far?
As just touched on before, you listen to some of his comments and the way he speaks, and again, look, I understand this. He's being thrust into this job. It's his first big league managerial charge. Whether it's because he knows it's an interim or what, I just think some of his comments, again, his decision making, we can keep going back. That the decision not to walk Devers is a massive decision. As Andy said, that might not have been a decision that won us the game, but it's a decision that can win you the game, and it also kind of would have helped the pitching out as well if you're not putting a pitcher under pressure against Devers, who is one of the hottest bats in the league in May. Well, there is a lot of positives. I think there's a lot less. It seems like there's a lot less kind of micromanaging with the players and with matchups and all that. It looks like he's trusting the abilities that the players have got in the locker, letting the players go to the locker and use them. I think there's been a change in what's the word I'm looking for? Mentality at the plate. It feels like they're seeing a few more pitches now than what they were previously. And he touched on obviously the everlasting, the ever growing IL list. Just Mansolino's said today that Westberg and Cowsett, they've got rehab assignments with Norfolk this week. Adley Rushman's going through the process, so they've who's the guy on the medical tax squad? Chadwick Trump is on the medical taxi squad. Obviously, if they've called him up, I'll be kind of waiting for them to maybe make a call at some point before today's game. Sanchez and Laureano are hitting today, so there are players coming back. So hopefully now, I have seen an improvement under Mansolino. I mean, let's face it, I think that it couldn't have got any worse than it was. I think he just needs to work on the fact that he's not a AAA manager or a third base coach anymore at the moment, and he's managing in the bigs, and yeah, that's all I've really got to say. But I have liked a bit more of what I've seen.
Yeah, excellent. So we decided before this episode that a couple of us were going to focus on some of our pictures, because a lot's been said, not just on this pod but on others and every media outlet, about the struggles that we've had on the pitching side. But then conversely, the counter argument has been that when our pitchers have performed, the bats have severely let us down. But we're going to focus a little bit on some of the pitchers specifically, and Grant, you've been taking a look at Kittredge and Rogers for us.
Yeah, Rogers we mentioned earlier. Very, very, very good first start of 2025. So certainly an option that we maybe didn't think was going to materialise at some stage that is there now. Andrew Kittredge. So he was a big signing for us. Started the season injured, knee injury, I believe. Was activated on Wednesday. Had busy few days through Wednesday, Saturday and Sunday. Obviously just every day through Saturday and Sunday it seemed. And fortunately for everybody, it was three very solid outings. So he's just gone one inning each time. The first two were scoreless. He looked very sharp. I thought in his first game back in Milwaukee, it was just a kind of very blitzed boom through three. Everybody was very happy. Handshakes all round. He then threw a scoreless inning on Saturday in the second game of the doubleheader. He picked up the win there. Gave up a hit, but picked up the win nevertheless. Did his job, and then on Sunday he started off a bit shakier. Maybe what I'm sure wasn't expecting or was planning to throw 2 consecutive days at this stage in his recovery or re-emergence. So he did. He gave up 2 hits and a run in the 9th. and it got to the point where we had Felix warming in case he wasn't going to get the job done. We had 5 runs to play with. We then had 4 runs to play with. Fortunately, he settled down. He found his spots. Painted the corners, as Ben McDonald might say. He got the 3 outs and we got the win. Obviously, he was brought in as a relatively big money acquisition, certainly in Elias terms. £9 million for a reliever, or $9 million for a reliever, is not to be sniffed at. He's also got a club option for next year, which, if he continues like that, I think will be exercising. And I think he was the person in the grand plan for 2025 that was going to make up for maybe some of that less than stellar starting pitching that we're going to have from the older acquisitions, Morton and Sagano. He was going to be a kind of workhorse. They would probably throw every 2 out of 3 days, or certainly every other day. Bridge that gap from the 5th and 6th inning to the back end relievers. So far so good. He's as advertised. I don't think we'll see him today, but we'll certainly see him at some point in this series this week.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thanks for delving into that.
Other note that we had, obviously in the midst of the double header and the collapse on Friday, is that finally CNL Perez has been DFA'd as not an Oriole. I've not seen anything. I would fully expect him to clear waivers. I don't know if he's got to accept an assignment to Norfolk, but given the money he's on, I don't think anybody else is going to pick him up. You never know. We've talked about it before. He's had one good season, really, and then it's kind of been a degradation. So there is hopefully better options out there that we can find and happen upon. Yes, we really, really like having these lefty relievers, but he's not been playable this season at all. Unfortunately, he's had very, very few good outings.
I've read some conspiracy theories online. Is it Sampson who gets his power from his hair when he cuts
Yeah, and
his
he
hair?
had his hair cut, didn't he? Yeah.
He had his hair cut, and since then all he's been good for is catching the odd home run in his cap in the bullpen.
Indeed, and that's
to be
the only
fair, he's
question.
failed at that a few times.
He has. Knowing our luck, though, the person that replaces him doing that is going to break a finger now and go on the IL. So we've got to be careful with the home run balls. Not that we've been hitting that many into the bullpen this year.
No, that's true. Thomas, you've also been having a look at some of our other strugglers, shall we say, in the bullpen.
Yeah, so obviously we've already talked about Perez being designated for assassination. You've got Soto, Cano and Bautista. All of them have been struggling. Soto ERA at 4.42. Bautista, he's up to 4.02. It has been an issue for us of late. I think Bautista, we discussed it last week, and possibly I think we might have discussed it on Thursday. That just looks like a body alignment issue, sort of mechanics. Hopefully they can work out. My concern is though that there seems to be a few of these pitches now that go on and look. We've digged out the hitting coaches. Is it a time now that we possibly have a look at what's going on with the pitching coaches, because a few of them have just fallen apart in moments. Soto, who had been relatively decent for us, has been shocking recently. Cano hasn't been too good. Kitson's coming back, as Grant said. It was a bonus. I'm impressed with some of the stuff that he's been putting out there for us, but it is a massive issue. Again, it's a bullpen that Lord Almighty himself, Mike Elias, has formulated together. There's just constant questions around Elias and the direction of this team at the moment. I just don't know what else we can do at this moment in time. He's got a lot of questions that need answering. Has Mike Elias coming up to the trade deadline? We all know what's gonna happen unless we carry on playing 600 baseball. Is there anybody really that thinks that we can carry on this? I'd like to think that we can. That's obviously my heart saying that, but I think all of us put our heads together. I don't see how we can at this moment in time, especially with how vulnerable the bullpen is. You know, maybe while we're on the subject of Elias, I'd like us to. I would like to see an extension soon. Ryan O'Hearn, outstanding for us. He's, you know, is he looking at possibly 2-3 years, 70 million? Is he a guy that we can build this team around? We've discussed on this pod before about the O's window. Is it closed or what? And I genuinely don't think it is. You look at the amount of players we've got under control and how young they are. A vast majority of them are under team control until 28, 29, 30. I think you've got Kerstad and Holiday who are through control till 2031. So if there is things that we can do now where, you know, we can kind of keep that core together and build around it, Ryan O'Hearn for me is a guy where I'd be saying to him, look, 2-3 years, 70 million and keep hold of him. I can't see him going. There could be a possibility. Obviously the Padres are desperate. They are actively looking for outfielder options, and I don't want O'Hearn is one that I do not want to lose.
So I'm not against that O'Hearn extension. I think, as I've said before, professional hitter. He's done it for us. He's done it consistently. I think from an Elias point of view, it would be against his kind of strategy and his way of thinking that he's always going to trade these guys and get something back for them. But the strategy has to change. It's not worked. You know, for somebody to sit here and tell me or tell MD right now that Kobe Mayo is going to be better than Ryan O'Hearn next season, yes, it could happen, but it's probably not going to. You're not going to replace O'Hearn out of thin air if he walks. So it is a serious conversation that we should be having, whether it's an extension now where, you know, you're taking on a bit of risk, or you let it develop through the rest of the season. I don't think it's going to take 70 million over 3 years. I think it'll be less than that. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I would certainly be thinking you need to bring, especially Mullins going as well, you need to find some of these experienced guys, because the free agent strategy has not worked particularly. Obviously there's no guarantees picking guys up at 30 or above, but not against that idea at all, Thomas.
I know it's going against everything that we know with Michael Elias, but things have to change. We're going to have to start doing something, and this obviously approach by Elias isn't working. It doesn't mean that obviously it hasn't worked. It's worked from before in the past. It's evident, but
to an extent, yeah.
At this moment in time now, it's not working, and I just think with the amount of players that we have under control for the next few years, this is only a little blip. I'd like to think in our situation. I just obviously with the Padres that they are going to be looking. I don't know whether is it going to be Mullins? There's Mullins, Laureano. There's a few that could possibly go out there come trade deadline if they don't get someone in before then, because they are really desperate for a left fielder. They are on, to coin an English phrase, on the bones of their arse. So yeah, I mean that's something that we'll probably discuss when it happens. But for the calibre of players that we have who can play outfield and with the quality of the bats that they can produce, I would not be surprised if the Padres do pick up the phone to Mike Elias and see what they can do.
I think it would show something to the fans if we could have a surprise extension or two, because we're not used to having that. They tend just to let it happen. I think we'd love to see someone like Gunnar sign long term, but even, you're right, getting Sedi or O'Hearn on a couple of year deals at reasonable money would be a good positive move for them to just bed the rest of the side together. Cowser, I think, is our long term centre fielder. He'll replace Sedi in due course. He's good enough. But we don't have any other left-handed batting first baseman. That's the big issue. So we talk about Kobe Mayo, but he's right-handed. And the fact that O'Hearn now, since he's been let loose on left and right-handed pitching, he's batting over 325. His WAR is currently 1.6, and he's being spoken about as a starting first baseman for the All-Star game. So that will get everyone's notice. So you may be right with someone like the Padres, but it'd be great if we could tie him down, because for anyone, I think he's probably our leader in the clubhouse at the moment. From what we see, from the commentaries we get, he is one of those people that is leading the rest of the team at the moment. So I think it'd be a great deal, especially as the chairman of the MV O'Hearn fan club, as you well know.
I think that with O'Hearn, you see some of the interviews, especially after a couple of difficult defeats that I mentioned the other week when he got asked about when we got swept by the Twins, and he's, was there any positives, and he's just kind of looked at the reporters as if to say, like, how the do you want me to answer this? Like, there are no positives. I think he's very cut and dry. He says it how it is. He'll call a spade a spade. I think it's great. I'm going to say something controversial now to O's fans, and I might upset a lot of O's fans, but it kind of ties into what you said about Colton Cowser. If I had the choice now, and I had 2 envelopes in front of me and Michael Elias said pick one, I mean, firstly, I wouldn't trust what Michael Elias had put in the envelopes if I didn't know. But in the right-hand envelope, there is a Cedric Mullins extension, and in the left-hand envelope, there is a Ryan O'Hearn extension. I would not think twice about picking up the Ryan O'Hearn one, and sad. I love Cedric. Again, he's been there through so much with us, and I was made up when we had that 100-win season, and it's to see the joy on his face and getting to the playoffs. But if it came down to the 1 or 2 of them getting an extension, for me, it has to be Ryan O'Hearn. I don't know where you 3 guys would be on that situation.
I mean, I think financially, yes, it's the one that's more likely to happen, because it's not going to cost as much as a Mullins extension would, and it does make sense. He is that versatile player. So as I said, it should be something that they're considering. I just worry that they're not even having that conversation, even privately in our mind, with the player.
Do you think Michael Elias knows the meaning of the word extension?
Possibly. It does beg a belief, doesn't it? That it almost, it's one of those things, isn't it, where sometimes once you've done the first one, others will maybe fall in line because you can see that intent. If you've got the intent, even if it is with someone like an O'Hearn, it's a bigger reach, isn't it, to ask for Gunnar to be extended or Adley. Yeah. But an O'Hearn could sort of open the doors, could it not, for others to go, right, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the logic if you've got it all lined up and you know that there's players there that are knocking the door. But as we've seen, it just doesn't happen like that. Guys don't just come in and start batting 300. Yeah. It's so unlikely to happen. You've got to build these guys up. And yes, you might spend money on it, O'Hearn, and you the last year doesn't work out and you've wasted 20 million. So what? That's part of sports. That's what the money's there for, to give yourself these options. You're not going to get something back for every contract, but you buy yourself that chance that it does. And if he is on 20 million for 3 years, it's still a tradable asset. Nobody's going to sniff at that for an experienced guy if you do get these players up and running. But we'll see what happens. I think I'd still be very surprised if I was putting money on it that O'Hearn is playing for us next season, or even at the end of this season, unfortunately.
I genuinely just don't think that Michael Elias knows the meaning of the word extension. I think if you went and asked him to get you an extension lead, he would come back with a 1-foot lead, because he does not know what the meaning of an extension is. It really, really, really boils my proverbials. It's just it like last season, obviously, when Rubenstein come in. I don't know whether you can all remember, there was this big, I don't know whether it was teasing or whether the O's or admin knew what they were doing, but there was a day or two on X where they put a desk out in between third base, second base, shortstop position, and everyone was like, Rubenstein's in, and they got to extend Gunnar, and all it was announced was that Cal Ripken's kind of back, and that's his office, and that's where Gunnar Henderson's office is now, and it's something he's crying out for. I don't think Henderson's going to get an extension yet. I think you can put a pin in that one possibly till next season.
And if there had been genuine conversations with Gunnar and Adley, they would have been leaked and we would know that it happened. The fact that there's been nothing suggests that they've not offered the players, certainly Gunnar, we know that there's a very unlikely scenario that he extends. He's almost certainly going to take free agency and get a mammoth deal if he continues the way he's been going. So yeah, it's so frustrating because you don't want to extend every day and have major roster issues, but to get a few guys, you're going to pay these guys in arbitration anyway, so it's not like it's costing you the full amount of the contract. If
Gunnar was to be free agency now, what are you looking at? I mean, I've seen some figures bandied around 600. What would he be looking at?
I think it's the age that he's going to hit free agency because he debuted so young. He's going to be in kind of Soto territory in terms of his age with that experience. So he's not going to be a Soto. I don't think he's going to be a Soto level contract, but given his age and his position, if he stays fit, he's going to hit free agency at 27. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think Gunnar Henderson would look shit in pinstripes, but he might pull off Dodgers blue. I just don't want to see him in New York.
Well, if Adley's on the IL list due to concussion, maybe now's an ideal time to stick a new contract in front of him. He might not read it properly. But I don't know about the ethics of that. So I don't know whether this is an Orioles mentality or a victim mentality, but it looks like the next series coming up against the Cardinals, we seem to be hitting another team who are starting to find some form. But so are we. So, Andy, what do you think as we look ahead?
Well, absolutely. We're 2-0 in the last two games. I mean, we can't forget that. That must be at least the third time this season we've had 2 games in a row where we've won.
That's a streak, isn't it?
It is. 3-2 in the last 5. Yeah, 3-4 in the last 7. So yeah, we can go through streaks. We're not really in the place. But the Cardinals are hot. They're already 30-23. So 7 games over 500. So about 2,000 games above us. Second place in the NL Central. We're going to face 3 right-handers again, and that's got to be a positive because we can't, as we know, and we've said many times on this pod, we can't hit left-handers for toffee. We're going to see Eric Fedde, who came over in a blockbuster 3-team trade last year involving the White Sox and Dodgers. He's only 3-3, 3.77 ERA, which, let's face it, we'd be very, very happy if we had a couple of pitchers apart from Sagado on 3.77. Up against the veteran, we'll call him. That's a polite way of saying he's old. Charlie Morton, 0-7 this year, but as we've mentioned already, he has been greatly improved over the relief appearances, and it will be very, very interesting to see how long he goes, how well he pitches. He'll be pitching to Maverick Handley, so that's a bit different as well. Obviously, we're going to see Maverick at least today because we've got no Adley in the team. But as we're going to record this, there's been no announcement as whether Adley's actually going to go on the DL. But there is reserves in waiting if we want them to come up. Although no mention of Samuel Basallo, which is reasonably interesting, I think. Game 2, 11 o'clock UK time. Right-hand pitcher Andre Palante, 4-3, 4.18 ERA, so not brilliant. Against our most valuable pitcher at the moment, Tommy Sagano, similar win record but 3.08, so he's by far and away our best pitcher this season. And last, Game 3, another late one unfortunately. Miles Mikolas, a veteran right-hander, 4-2, 3.52 ERA against Cade Povich, who has been pitching a lot better over the last starts. It's good to get Cade Povich a regular starting berth because I think he'll flourish as a result, but it's going to be a difficult one. It's going to be a difficult series, I think, because they're a very good team.
I mean, my Cardinals knowledge recently is quite poor. I don't know, Grant, is there anyone else who I should be looking out for?
Yeah, I mean, mine isn't great either. Cardinals, pitched very well. They've got a below-average offence, but they've certainly got enough about them to win the games. As we said, 30 wins already. The player certainly that has been doing it for them is Brendan Donovan. He's been batting 3, plays second base, left-handed bat. He is currently leading the league in hits with 65 and doubles with 17. So 2 numbers not to be sniffed at. Not a lot of power, only 3 home runs, but a batting average well into the 300s, 328. And certainly that is the guy that if you were going to walk somebody when the bases the first base is empty and it's a game clenching moment, then he might be the guy that they've got. He is only striking out 11%, so anything under 20% you'd think of as pretty decent. So he's having himself a season as Brendan Donovan. I would imagine if there is any Cardinal All-Stars, he'll be right in that picture.
I think for me, you look at, you've got Contreras at first. You know, he's their team leader for RBIs. He's 28. He's got, I think, how many times has he gone yard? He's got 6 home runs, and then obviously you've got the home run leader, Newbar. For them, he's got 7 home runs, 49 hits from 201 at bats. He's averaging 244. Look, they are a dangerous. There's a dangerous team, but maybe this little trip on the road for the Oilers, I think Mansolino touched on it before, getting away and just being the team, and you're away from Baltimore and coming back now after 2 great performances to wrap up the series with Boston, getting back to Camden Yards. Maybe now isn't a great time to be facing Tony Mansolino's O's, and hopefully, we can take the series. We need to be carrying on this, playing at 600 ball.
Yeah, am I right in thinking I think we're 0-8 in the last 8 games at Camden Yards, so we need something to turn around as well?
Yeah, it needs to change. Someone asked before, talking about obviously how we're performing at the moment, somebody asked on Twitter, let me get it up now, Katie Rice dropped us a message before I put out that we were just about to go to record. Is there any hope at all that the O's sneak into the playoffs? Now, I was in the middle of writing a reply, and the reply was 8 laughing emojis. Yeah. But Katie, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to laugh at you. Appreciate the love. We will try and answer that question now. I think we're going to need help from the division. I think that we've seen that Boston are a poor team defensively, and it's not something that has just been this year. Obviously, everybody, I don't know, I've watched the Netflix documentary from last year and the season before. They also struggled defensively. I think what we've got to do, that we've got to just concentrate on ourselves. I think we just got to take it game by game. I think if we can, it's going to be a hard thing to do, but I think we're going to have to play 600 ball minimum to even have a chance, and hopefully get a bit of help in the division. I don't know, Grant, what do you think, Andy? Simon?
Yeah, I'm not getting my hopes up. If we were to put a 10-game streak together, we're back in the conversation as positive as
we've seen with the Twins.
As positive as be, even if you do that, you still need to back it up and not have another losing streak at any point. It's still a long season. Fangraphs have us at 1.7% just to make the playoffs. Never mind do anything. So I mean, that's how many times has that come up? A 1.7% chance of something happening. I'm not getting my hopes up. Let's just keep taking it a day at a time.
Everton win the Premiership.
Tony Mann.
Well, Charlton staying in the Championship next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it sounds like the Jim Carrey. So you're saying there's a chance? Me is sort of running around in my head. Personally, I love the optimism in the question. I like to think of myself as glass half full, but bloody hell, that is going some. I mean, fingers crossed, but I can't see it. I think it would be a Netflix documentary worthy, wouldn't it, if we were to somehow get the playoffs from here?
Moneyball 2, I think they would make off the back of it.
I think obviously with Westberg coming back, it's huge.
Cowser as
he's
well.
got a couple of rehab. You look at. We've mentioned before about Adley Rushman and when he's hitting well, how well the O's perform. I haven't got the stats on me at the moment, but I did see a tweet. I think it might have been Jacob Meyer from the Baltimore Sun. He put out, I think, the last 40 games with Westberg and 40 games without Westberg, and how poor we are without Jordan Westberg in the team and his performances at the plate.
Yeah.
So I think him coming back, Cows are coming back. I think. I don't know who do we think is going to need a more rehab assignments there. I know obviously Cows has been hitting. He had a live batting session the other day. He's coming back from a fractured thumb, but obviously I think there might be a little bit more care and attention paid to Westberg because he was very nearly back the other week and then he's tweaked his hamstring again, and we know that they can linger. Obviously, are we thinking that Westberg probably another 7 days away, early June possibly?
I've not seen anything concrete about when he's going to actually start a live game in AAA. So we'd just be speculating really, but they're not going to rush him back just to play at this stage in the season, you know.
Yeah, the good thing about Cowser is that he could do everything else, couldn't he? He could do all his normal activities apart from hitting a ball. So he should be, fitness wise, should be good. When you've got a hamstring, it's a bit different.
I think he is eligible to come back this week, so possibly we will see him. He's only playing at Aberdeen, but maybe that's just geography
Convenience,
wise.
yeah.
Yeah, I just hope that while he's been on IL, someone has educated him on the fact that sliding into head first, is not advisable.
No, he did that last season again at the game I was on when I think he slid into first. Yes, we scored a run as a result of it, but you just wince every time you see someone doing it. It's not advisable.
Yeah.
No. Oh well, thanks for the question on Twitter. We've got a couple of others before we wrap things up for today. So we've got Rico V from Pittsburgh has asked us one, which we'll go through. How many Orioles hats do you currently own, and are they more for fashion or faith? So Andy, as you're wearing one, do you want to
Yeah, indeed. Well, they're certainly not for fashion because unfortunately the Orioles are not a fashionable brand. Unfortunately, even at Wembley yesterday were far too many Yankees hats for my liking. So I've got too many. 2 on the backdrop, 1 on my head, several scattered around most of the house in different places so that I can always pick one up. Probably 8 or 9. I'll always, whenever I go over, I'll buy 2 or 3 more hats. All for faith, absolutely. Of course, practicality as well, because we don't really do baseball caps well in the UK. You can't get a Charlton baseball cap, let's face it, and I don't think anyone would want to be seen dead in it anyway. So Orioles it is, and it is quite amazing that sometimes that you will get noticed, especially in central London. If you're walking around, people will come up to you and go, let's go out, and you're thinking, how do you know these things? But they're mostly American tourists, unfortunately.
I mean, I can't pull off the straight peaked ones, the sort of more modern, whatever that style is.
Oh, snapbacks. No, they're terrible.
I look like an
They're the worst. Up there with the worst invention ever for headgear. They're fucking awful.
And they crush most people's ears as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if I just sound sort of like an old man, but I don't get them. So I prefer the more curved. I can't keep up with the 39, 30 or whatever the hell they are. But I've got I've got 7 or 8 myself, including our affiliate clubs. So I've got a nice fitted Bowie or Bowie, however you want to say it, Bay Sox one that I picked up, and it was when they were still Bowie and not Chesapeake, which I wear quite a lot. And then I've got the Delmarva Shorebirds one that looks like our iconic Orioles hat as well, which I wear quite a lot when walking the dog. But do love a cap. I've not counted them, but something like that.
I've got too many. too
and they're not
many.
cheap either. They're not cheap.
No, I've got a couple of. I've got the City Connect one, which I've worn on the pod. I've got the one that Grant's got on now. I've got a good few. I've got obviously the original O's cap, but they're all normal caps. I can't wear a snapback. They make me ears look like wing nuts. I can't stand it. I mean, the ones that I do like, I've got a couple of like bucket hats and like fishing. They call them out there like fishing hats, wide brim ones that are nice and flat. I wear them in the sun. Yeah, I quite like them. I've got loads of Ravens caps as well. I think when I went to Boswell last time, I spent about £500 on headwear. Yeah, I do like a cap. I will wear a cap every day of the week.
Okay, Grant, what about yourself?
Yeah, I've just got the two actually. Get this, the orange spring training one that just came out this year that I've never hardly had off my head, to be honest. I really like it, and I've just got the classic white panel one that's in Andy's backdrop there. I'm going to Baltimore in September, so I will definitely come back with another one or two at least for the rotation.
Yeah, I'll let you know what they've got in the store when I'm there at the end of July.
Just
if there's any left.
Just a quick one before we move on. We've just DFA'd Hummel.
Well, he was worthwhile, wasn't he? He did well.
Just as well, I didn't do any research for him then.
Oh, I was going to put Hummel in my fantasy. Was I shite? He's been
designated for assassination, but of course that means that Chadwick Tromp has been brought in, so he will be our reserve catcher. So Adley's going on the DL.
Yeah, I don't know whether is our good friend Mash and Roch put out anything yet. Yeah,
he has. So Orioles select catcher Chadwick Tromp's contract, wearing number 41. Cooper Hummel designated for assassination.
Didn't Cooper Hummel pay his way out of that Yankees contract that he was in?
He did.
They'll possibly try to slide him through waivers, but we'll see what happens. It did seem a very strange move. It was nothing there, really.
It was a bizarre
one.
He just
paid his way out of the Yankees to come to us, and then he's just been DFA'd. I mean, he's had a stinking bank holiday weekend, hasn't he?
Hey, happy Memorial Day, yes. Well done, Cooper Hummel. You're on your way again.
Oh dear. Well, Tommy in Texas has asked us, what sort of reaction do you get from other Europeans when you tell them you're an O's fan? I'll kick off with this one, because usually I get asked if I'm meeting someone for the first time. They'll ask in the UK, what's your team? And they mean, what's your football team? So when I'll then go to I'm more of a baseball person, you either get stunned silence and or it's coupled with a sort of like, why?
Yep.
And then if you do start trying to explain it and then you say, well, what's your team? And you tell them, it's usually just bemusement, to be honest. That's what I tend to get. I don't know if you get a different reaction.
No, it's a very similar reaction. There's people we'll go to football with that they just don't understand it. They don't understand the game. They think that it's just a game where you just go and sit around for 3 hours. Now we know that's not true because the excitement is there. But occasionally you do get recognised coming out of the Valley the other day with an O's hat on. And I made a mistake yesterday at Wembley of wearing an O's hat, and of course we were playing Orient, who are known as the O's, so that was a bit of a faux pas on my side. But you do get some, especially in central London, as I mentioned before. I remember going for the playoffs. We were going to Passyunk Avenue to go and watch the playoff game, which obviously, we didn't win because we haven't won a playoff game since 2014. So we did get recognised by a few Americans, wished us luck, but Europeans, they tend not to know what the O's are. They don't understand the bird or the O's or anything like that.
No, I've not had much. Usually people, if I'm wearing the cap, people actually ask, "What's that for? What team is that?"
Yeah. Is it Aloha?
Still very, very niche sport over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. It's kind of I don't know whether it. I'm a massive cricket fan, and when you try and explain baseball, it's basically like cricket, and it's totally different. You don't see many of them. I think as going kind of touching on the cap situation, you see a lot of people walking around with baseball caps on. It's usually the New York Yankees cap or a Dodgers one, or and it's kind of like a fashion thing in the UK. Yeah. So I did once see a guy in an Orioles hoodie and hat in my local Sainsbury's, and I went up and approached him, and he had no idea who they were. His family, his son had just been to America and got them to wear. So I wanted the ground to crawl up and I wanted the ground to open up and swallow me. And since then, I will not approach anybody wearing any O's gear because it's just not a common thing out here, but it is growing.
It is, and you do see some around. But what the big thing that we do is that we ban any family members from wearing anything that's got a New York Yankees logo on it, and we will even buy them Baltimore Orioles hats or anything to replace that. So we're trying very hard in Southeast London, but it's just it's a big wave of New York Yankees rubbish coming the other way, and Dodgers, I don't mind them so much, but Yankees.
Okay. Great, well thanks for the questions, and please feel free to send them in on the socials or email us at europeanorioles@gmail.com. We're going to wrap things up now because I think we're all going to start watching the game on a slight delay, which is merciful really, because we can all avoid as many of those godforsaken sustainability adverts. I think Thomas, you said you caught yourself singing the song walking around your house, and it's just like,
it's got that bad. I can't wait for the Ichiro Suzuki Hall of Fame advert to come back once we get over this sustainability.
We need to show the Americans what we see, because when you watch it in the US live on Masson or anywhere else, you get proper adverts, and they're a bit irregular.
I mean, when you say proper adverts, is it these?
Yeah, it's American.
It always makes me laugh whenever I go and you're catching TV in the hotel room before you go out, and it's some medical advert.
Oh yeah,
some diabetes medication, and the actual small print, which they read dead quiet and fast. This can cure diabetes, but then there are 20 other side effects which will kill you. So manage your blood sugar levels, or take this and die.
Well, there's a great one. There's I think it's called something like Antwerpen or something like that. There's a car advert on Maston, and it's when Jack says yes or something, and there's these people pretending to be customers who they must have literally dragged off the street and got to act, and they're all sort of cable TV type adverts. So I'd rather have them than the same.
Rubbish.
It's
absolutely.
Anyway, let's end on a positive each. So who wants to go first?
Go on, I'll go first. I'm not going to mention him this week because he gets mentioned every week. Positive for me. 2 great wins, but the biggest positive is finally shown Perez the door. That just
isn't that a negative positive? But we'll give it to you then.
Just glad to get rid of him.
Okay, no, we'll take it. What about you, Grant?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go for Dylan Carlson, who's had 3 hits in the last 2 games, playing 8th in the lineup. He certainly, I think they think they've got something with Carlson. He's been highly rated in the past, switch hitter. He's obviously a talented guy. Plays a very good outfield. He's got options, so he's going to keep shuttling up and down as and when he's required. So we will see more of him even when Kowser comes back. But really good to see him get going and feel that he's part of the team now. Hopefully, so let's see. Keep an eye on that. If that turns into something that is more than just a kind of 5th outfielder that we've got in the roster.
Excellent. That was actually going to be mine as well. So I'll let Andy go next while I think of another one.
So I'm going to have 1.5. I'm going to say Kjerstad, his catch, we haven't mentioned it yet. The catch that he did against the Boston Red Sox was absolutely outstanding. And a lot of people say that he can't field well in the outfield. Yes, he wasn't overly brilliant at some of the other plays, but there's something there. But my big positive this week, and it's a bit of a positive because of a negative, i.e. Adley going on to the DL, it's going to be good to see Maverick Hanley catching regularly. I like him as a catcher. The pitchers seem to like him as a catcher as well. He pitches, he calls a good game, and that's been mentioned a few times in the broadcast. We just need to hit a few dingers, home run, one maybe, down the left field line, right field line, don't really care. But Maverick's going to be my positive this week, and I think he'll come good for the 3-game series and onwards.
Fab. Well, I'll end with mine then, which is is our streak. I'm going to cling hold of that and say that, look, it's 2 wins in a row. It's been few and far between so far this season, and I'm just hopeful that we can build on that, as you said, against a decent Cardinals team, admittedly, but hopefully we can all go now and watch a game and we can perform, or at least if we are going to lose, we lose with a bit of fight and passion and a bit more belief. So thanks to everyone for listening. We've been O's Across the Pond, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye now.
That's it for this episode of O's Across the Pond, bringing Birdland to Europe one episode at a time. Be sure to subscribe, share and follow along as we keep the Orioles conversation going from this side of the Atlantic. Until next time, stay loud, stay proud and let's go O's!